Alrighty, well, we're on to some more systems. So in the last mini lesson, we kind of touched on a little bit of the human body and kind of animal organization, but we talked about kind of the basic organization and the hierarchy, starting from atoms all the way up to pretty much an organism, okay? But today we're going to get into more of the systems, so we're going to dig a little deeper into this stuff. So we're going to cover the integumentary, the senses, and the circulatory system. So these three systems. Now I'm going to break it up into two parts, otherwise you guys would be like, this is freaking 40 minutes long, are you kidding me? I mean, there's a lot of information when it comes to this, so bear with me, I'll break it up into two sections, but you're going to like what I have to talk about, and of course, you know Howie, she likes to put in some crazy pictures and some videos. So, anyways, alrighty then, good old Ace Ventura. Let's start off with the integumentary system, okay? Skin is the largest organ of the body, and without it, well, we'd look like Jabba the Hutt, right? Okay, Jabba the Hutt is just one pile of, well, I shouldn't say without it. How about it without bones? We'd look like Jabba the Hutt, because he is just one big mass of skin. It's kind of gross. So how about if I use this again when we talk about the skeletal system, that without bones, we'd look like this good old lump right here. He's quite possibly the ugliest thing ever. I think if I ran into him, I'd probably, I don't know, barf a little bit in my mouth. Who knows? Okay, so what's so great about our skin? Well, there's a lot of cool things about our skin. We think, oh yeah, it's just the outer coating, but it's so much more than that. It controls the body temperature. If any of you guys have ever known anybody that has been burned, a burn victim, your skin is so vital that burn victims, if they lose over 40% of their skin, they cannot survive. So it's a really, really dangerous thing when you get burned, and especially if you have huge burns all over your body, because your temperature is affected by your skin. If you don't have that, then you can't regulate your temperature, and ultimately you can't survive. Protects body from germs, obviously. If you were to swab your skin and then grow it on an agar plate, which is kind of this nutrient for bacteria, you'd be amazed at all the bacteria on your skin that, thank goodness, is not eating away in your skin and getting into your body. Okay, so your body, your skin protects you from those germs. Senses pressure, temperature, texture, and pain. So obviously our skin protects us in a way of letting us know about the external environment. So that's really important. Excretes waste like sweat and different things that come out of your body in your pores. Can protect us from harmful UV rays. Those of you guys that already have kind of a darker skin tone, you have a great protection mechanism that we're going to talk about, but it's called melanin. And actually melanocytes are the ones that produce melanin, which is the pigment that makes you dark. Me, Miss Whitey, I don't have much melanin, okay? So my skin actually does not protect me a ton from UV rays. And then we're pretty much waterproof, which is nice, due to keratin, which is a kind of a waterproof substance made by keratinocytes. Water does not kind of just seep in via diffusion or osmosis. It doesn't just diffuse into us, which is, kind of a good thing, because our bodies are perfectly balanced with water internally. We don't need to just all of a sudden absorb more water, okay? So let's talk about the components of skin. You have the epidermis. Epi, remember I told you last time, epi means on top of. Dermis is skin. So the most outer layer of skin. So right here, your epidermis is going to contain your pores, your hair follicles, kind of the outer covering. Remember those stratified squamous cells? That's what makes up your epidermis. There's layers and layers and layers of those cells for the purpose of abrasion. I mean, anytime you actually rub up on something, okay, you're actually losing skin cells. You don't feel it, doesn't hurt, but you're losing those dead skin cells that are on the outermost surface, and then you're constantly kind of regrowing those within here. The dermis is where the bulk of the components are, and I'm not going to go over all these components in detail, but ultimately the dermis is kind of right in here, and you can see there's tons of different types of components. You have nerve cells that are located kind of in here. You have muscle fibers that pull this hair in order to give you the goosebumps, okay? So there's a specific, there's actually a more detailed diagram coming up. You have sweat glands. You have oil glands that are next to your hairs that produce oil and keep your hairs nice and healthy. So all these different components are in the dermis. The hypodermis, hypo means under, so under the skin, mostly made of fat, is really down here. They call this the subcutaneous layer or tissue, and that's the hypodermis. So mostly fat, but you'll see some of the arteries and veins kind of run along there too. but most of the bulk is in the dermis. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about sunburns and skin cancer. I'm going to show you some pretty graphic, crazy, video, or not necessarily a video, but some pictures that I need you guys to understand that skin cancer is such a real, scary thing. I've actually known many people to have skin cancer, and some of them the most aggressive type, and lose dear people to skin cancer. So it's very important that you guys understand to take care of your skin, especially if you don't have that protective mechanism. So obviously UV rays are coming down from the atmosphere, from the sun, and so forth. And pretty much UVC rays, there's three types: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVC are actually don't even make it to the earth, okay? But UVA and UVB make it to the earth and are penetrated they're basically going into our skin and penetrating deep within, and they start to mutate our cells and cause skin cancer, okay? So here's a picture of skin cancer. Why this person would let it go that long is beyond me, okay? I hope you don't look like this person when you're old. Actually, this person may not even be that old, maybe like 50s. Come on, you look like you're, 410. But unfortunately, this has been me many times. I've gotten burned a lot in my lifetime. But one thing that you need to know, and I'll go over this a little bit more, but this is how you can tell if something is abnormal and possibly cancerous. So again, tanning, no good. Never go to a tanning bed. And I know that you guys probably, some of you guys probably will. You'll be like, yeah, I've heard that before from my mom. You're not my mama. But tanning is ultimately just destroying your cells, especially if you're white like me. There's just no reason for it. But watch out. You don't want skin cancer. Use sunscreen. What sunscreen does is two things. It either forms this protective layer where basically the UV rays cannot even penetrate your skin and they're reflected off, or there's a chemical also in sunscreen that absorbs the UV rays before it penetrates the skin. So there's two different things that basically sunscreen does, okay? So there's three types of skin cancer. Basal cell carcinoma. Basal cell, and I'll show you a diagram that shows you where each of these different types of cells are located. But basal cell carcinoma is not necessarily life-threatening. I mean, obviously, if you let it go and go and go, it could spread to the point of being life-threatening. But ultimately, when you realize that you have basal cell carcinoma, it just is typically removed without any side effects, without having to undergo any kind of chemotherapy or kind of treatment. Squamous cell carcinoma gets a little bit more damaging and a little bit more dangerous, okay? Typically, again, it's removed, and sometimes you don't have to follow it up with treatment, but other times you have to follow it up with radiation, depending on how long you've let it go, okay? So there's ultimately, when you see something on your body, and you really should be paying attention, if you see something on your body that is not going away, even if it's a scab that basically never heals, or something that just looks abnormal for a long period of time that is beyond what normal things would heal at, you might want to take a look at that and have a doctor look at that as well, okay? Now the most dangerous is melanoma. So I showed you that picture before. There's 4 squares, and I'm going to show you that again right here. But melanoma is the most aggressive type of skin cancer, and this can kill you, okay? So if you don't catch melanoma quickly, first of all, it can spread very rapidly, but also you have to follow this up with, usually chemotherapy most of the time, okay? But these are the 4 things that you want to look for. You look for asymmetry. Remember, so something that's symmetrical is basically you can fold it in half and they are equal on both sides. But asymmetrical is obviously it's all irregular, okay? You couldn't fold this and make it into the exact replica on the other side. Border irregularity, so basically it's very kind of jagged, there's not a distinct line around this. The color, it tends to get darker, okay? So these are moles typically that you're watching, and spots, that if you start to see any of these things, they're called the ABC. So asymmetrical, the border irregularity, the color, and then obviously the diameter starts to grow, okay? All 4 of those things are sure signs that something is wrong, okay? So you want to really keep an eye on any moles or any kind of spots that kind of start to change, okay? But those are the 3. So I wanted to show you guys a video that I found. I thought it was kind of compelling. So watch this and let me know what you think.
Dear 16-year-old me.
Dear 16-year-old me.
Dear 16-year-old me.
Please don't get that perm. It's not as awesome as you think it's going to be.
You have to actually practice in order to learn to play guitar.
Whiskey tastes even worse on the way up.
Dear 16-year-old me, there's going to be a new set of Star Wars movies. Don't watch them. They ruin everything.
Dear 16-year-old me. This is where they took the cancer out. It was something called melanoma.
It's called malignant melanoma.
Malignant melanoma.
Malignant. That's not a very friendly word.
You'll be diagnosed when you're 28.
18.
36.
29.
22.
It's a tumor that starts in your skin cells, the cells that give your hair and skin color.
It's not just skin cancer.
Well, it is,
Well, it is.
but not just the...
Cut it out and it'll be fine kind, unfortunately.
It's the kind that you have to catch before it spreads.
Because it spreads so fast.
So fast.
To places like your liver, your lungs, your brain.
Yours will be a really rare kind in your left eye, and that's when you'll find out.
That melanoma can show up on your tongue, the palms of your hands, and the soles of your feet.
Your doctors will tell you you're lucky that you caught it early.
Yours will tell you that you need aggressive treatment.
I'll have to tell you, it might take a year of chemotherapy.
And you'll need to do some of the injections yourself.
Dear 16-year-old me,
You're doing okay.
you're strong.
But there are some things I want you to know.
I wish I'd known.
That one bad sunburn before you turn 18.
Doubles your chances of developing melanoma.
That fair skin and red hair means that you're at a higher risk of getting it.
As if ginger people didn't have enough problems.
That you're at higher risk if you've got more than 50 moles.
And if you have a weakened immune system or a family history of skin cancer.
I want you to know the outlook is very good if we can catch it early.
But you have less than a 10% chance of surviving more than 5 years if we don't.
Dear 16-year-old me.
Spend more time with family. They mean everything.
If I had one piece of advice for you, don't start the tanning bed. I know you want a healthy glow, but it's going to double my chances of getting melanoma.
Sunscreen.
Yes, I agree. It's a huge pain in the ass, but so worth it. Please.
Your skin's like an elephant. It never forgets.
Dear 16-year-old me, helping spread this message is how you'll honor Glenna's memory. At 16, she's already an incredible lifeguard. She loves the sun and the beach and tanning, but she just doesn't know.
She'll be diagnosed when she's 22 and will lose her battle when she's just 26.
I want you to know, because it's melanoma that's going to take the strongest man you know, your best friend, and the love of your life.
Dear 16-year-old me.
Don't be afraid. This isn't about being afraid.
I want you to be aware.
That melanoma is a young person's disease.
It is the second most common cancer in children and teenagers, and one of the most common in young adults.
And it can be deadly.
I want you to know you're not helpless.
This is a cancer that shows itself
Right there on the outside of you.
Start checking your skin.
Please check.
Get to know your skin.
Get to know your skin.
Start checking your skin.
If a new mole shows up,
Or if when you have, starts to change color, or size, or shape, or feels different.
If something seems out of place, get your doctor to have a look as soon as possible.
Know what to look for and get help. These are all signs your skin could be developing cancer.
You brush your teeth every day, maybe even floss,
Okay, we both know you don't floss.
but just once a month. I want you to check.
It takes 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Dear 16-year-old me, I do realize you're not actually going to see this, but someone else will, and it'll make a difference to them.
Dear someone else.
Dear somebody else.
If you're watching this,
send it to a 16-year-old you care about.
Send it to anyone who was once 16.
Or soon will be 16. Send this.
And check yourself. Educate yourself.
You can download tools and information about melanoma here.
Share this link.
Tweet this link.
Post this to your Facebook.
Okay, so that kind of actually gets me a little bit, only because I know how dangerous it is, and I do know people that have fought it and lost, and lots of people that have actually fought it and won. So please take that to heart. That's all I ask you guys. So I told you guys I would show you a picture of kind of where these cells lie. So remember, the squamous cells are the outermost layer, okay? So squamous cell carcinoma is going to happen in those squamous cells, okay? Basal cell is kind of that layer right below the squamous cell, okay? So it's right below there. So basal cell carcinoma is attacking those types of cells, okay? And then your melanocytes are kind of within there. Your melanocytes is where melanoma comes from, okay? So it's cancer of the melanocytes. The melanocytes, again, they actually give you that pigment to get tan. So that's why typically that type of cancer comes up as moles and darkened colors, because all of a sudden those melanocytes are going crazy. And with cancer cells, you have this kind of overproduction, out of control cell division. So that's what's happening with these melanocytes that are kind of right dispersed in the basal cells, okay? So just a little FYI. Now let's go on a little bit more about the skin, which has to do with the hair and the nails. So hair is actually dead cells that grow from the hair root, which are living cells. So your hair itself, you know, all this stuff right here is dead cells. But your hair follicle right at the, you know, base of your scalp and everything, and that goes into your scalp, those are living cells, and that's where the hair basically grows from, that hair follicle down here. You have sebaceous glands or oil glands that are secreted. Obviously that keeps your hair healthy. So some of you guys are like, oh gosh, oil gross, but you know, that actually keeps our skin and our nails and our hair very healthy. And then here's a picture of the nails as well. Nails are made of you know, a hard substance called keratinocytes that basically are dead cells as well, okay? But they are alive way back here, kind of underneath that cuticle, and that's where the nail grows from. And then, ever wonder why we get zits? Is that not the most disgusting thing? There was actually a YouTube video that said that, like, popping the world's largest zit. And I didn't watch it because I thought maybe I would, you know, again, barf a little in my mouth, or a lot. Ugh. Anyways, but they are normal. Not these, but zits in general, okay? We all have had them. We all go through phases, especially in the puberty phase where your oils are producing like over time, and you typically get, you know, zits, but sometimes people end up with acne. But that is a pretty normal thing, okay? But what's happening is with zits, basically you have these oil glands that get plugged up, and they cause a minor infection, and that infection is that whitehead, is what that is. So, you know, you actually hear a lot of people disagreeing on what you should do with a zit. Should you pop it or not? People say if you pop it, you're spreading that infection, but other people think that it gets rid of it quicker. I personally don't like the looks of whiteheads on my face, so I pop them, regardless if I'm spreading it. But anyways, that's what a zit is. It's a minor infection within the oil glands, okay? Obviously, washing your face more does help, but sometimes it's just inevitable. So I told you that I wanted to go into just a few more things about the skin. Obviously, there are so many things in this just chunk of skin, all of these different organelles. But you've got, I wanted to point out a couple of things. The erector pili muscle, that is that muscle that's attached to the hair shaft here, that when you know, get scared or cold, all of a sudden it pulls on that hair shaft and causes that hair to stick straight up, and that's what causes goosebumps. So there's a tiny little muscle that's responsible for that, okay? You have these free nerve endings that kind of lie right underneath the epidermis. So that's why, you know, just even a slight pinprick, and you can feel that, you know, free nerve ending. There's also pressure sensors, temperature sensors, all sorts of stuff like that. I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to tell you guys about within there. Okay? All right, so let's go on to a couple of common issues that maybe we don't like. So dandruff is something that's very common. Obviously, when your scalp gets very dry, you tend to have this flaking. Some people have it worse than others, but most people have it, you know, a little bit, but you know, there are ways to get rid of that. So dandruff, head lice, oh gosh. My kids had some friends over one time, and I got a phone call the next day saying that their kids had lice. So I had to check my girls and give them the shampoo. Thank goodness they didn't have it, but these little buggers, man, what a pain. I mean, they're very hard to get rid of. I shouldn't say they're hard to get rid of. You have to go through a lot of different things in order to get rid of head lice. Head lice has nothing to do with not being clean. The cleanest of people can get lice. They're just very contagious that they can, jump from. I shouldn't say jump, but typically if you're touching your hair and you touch someone else, they lay eggs. Ugh, it's gross. But nonetheless, it's not because of unsanitary needs. Hangnails. Ooh, man, talk about painful. I've never had one like this. I've had the beginning of one, but nothing like that where it has to be actually surgically removed. But typically, if you don't cut your nails, I'm sorry, those are ingrown nails. Hangnails are right here. Hangnails are just, if your skin is kind of hanging off and you pull it off and it starts to bleed. Very common. But ingrown toenails, ooh, man. You always want to cut your nails kind of the way your toenails are used to growing. Typically, that's in a straight line so that they're not kind of growing into your skin, and that's what's happening. But you can catch it early and kind of dig, I don't want to say you have to dig it out right away, but you can kind of prevent that. But if you let it get to this point right here, oh my goodness, you are in so much pain, and infections can happen too. Okay, and skin is pretty stinking helpful. So you have to know that in talking about homeostasis, it's so important that we know our skin. I mean, it's just, our skin is what kind of keeps everything intact inside, but also maintains kind of that balance inside. Okay, so think about some ways that maybe your skin might help keep our bodies in balance, and just think about that it's so important to take care of your skin, keeping it clean, keeping it protected from the sun, from the cold, and different things like that, because it really does help maintain that inner balance. So I'm going to stop right now, and then I'll come back for the next part, which will talk about the senses. All right, see you soon.